In Luke chapter 10, we have the story of the Good Samaritan. It's very interesting, and oftentimes we misinterpret this story that Jesus is telling us. It all begins with a lawyer coming to Jesus and asking him a question. He wants to know what he needs to do. And Jesus does what he would do to a lawyer. He says, how does the law read? How do you read it? And he says, well, he uses two Old Testament texts that most everyone in the first century would understand that you would use when asked this question, especially if you were a lawyer. And that is, he quotes from Deuteronomy 6 and Leviticus 19. You're to love the Lord your God with all your heart and love your neighbor, Leviticus 19, as yourself. And Jesus says, you have answered correctly, now to go do likewise. And so the lawyer, trying to trap Jesus, that's the whole point of this conversation, is he's trying to trap Jesus and get him to prove that he is a lawbreaker, that he is outside the law. And if he's outside the law or an outlaw, then he is not who he says he is. So what does he do? He says, who is my neighbor? And Jesus begins a story of the Good Samaritan. Now, there's some individuals in this story that we need to understand. First off, there is a man that went down from Jerusalem to Jericho. He fell among thieves, and they beat him, robbed him, and left him for dead. Well, along comes a priest, along comes a Levite, and then a Samaritan. Well, we often criticize the Levite and the priest for being so religious they don't have time to help this guy. But actually, they're operating inside the law. They're doing exactly what they're supposed to do. For Leviticus tells us that for a priest to do what he's doing, to serve the people, has to remain holy and clean. He cannot touch a dead body and still minister to the people. And so he has a greater responsibility than this one man. He has the many he has to tend to. So we kind of give them a little break there because they're doing exactly what the law commands them to do. But along comes the Samaritan. He is one outside the law. He touches the person that he don't know if he's dead or alive, finds out he's alive. He pours in the things that are needed to sanitize the wounds. And then he puts him on his own donkey and he carries him to an inn and even says, look, if there's any more that needs to be done, I'll take care of it. You know, oftentimes we think we're the Good Samaritan, that Jesus is trying to show us this is us. But actually, Jesus is the Good Samaritan. You and I, like the lawyer, is the man that's fell among thieves, the thief of sin and iniquity, has robbed us, stripped us, and left us as dead. Paul would say in Ephesians 2 that you and I are dead in trespasses and sin. So Jesus turns this thing around on this lawyer and says, you're the man left for dead, and you need someone other than the law. See, the law demands stuff of us. Jesus is holding the law of Moses up as a mirror and letting this man see himself that he cannot keep the law fully, that because of his iniquities, he has failed to keep the law, and the law accuses me. It accuses me, and it demands the penalty for breaking the law, which is death. So Jesus, being the Good Samaritan, lifts us up out of our situation. He clothes us in righteousness. He carries us, and he continues the rest of our life paying for our issues and situations. He is always there. When we suffer, he's there suffering with us. When we sin, he's there with forgiveness. So, hey, when you read the story of the Good Samaritan, remember, you and I have been defeated and destroyed by sin, but Jesus has raised us up in Christ.